This was a pretty painful lesson in my life. And it's really that moment when you realize that you don't have all the answers, that you might need to just drop the ego. A trainer reached out to me the other day, and it was somebody that I'd known from years ago in the fitness industry. We'd both actually studied our level 2 personal training. It was like a decade ago now, and we were on the same course. And I haven't seen this guy in years, long time. And he actually just reached out the other day, and he'd been trying to figure out how to get his fitness business operating smoothly and have all the systems dialed in so he could grow without headache, without having all this kind of stuff going on and not really having a smooth process to grow his business. And so he reached out. And what grabbed my attention more than anything was the last sentence in his message. He wrote, "I've been sitting on the fence for a while, and I think it's time I drop the ego and get the right help." I'd been sitting on the fence for a while, and he said it. I feel like it's the right time to drop the ego and get the right help. And I resonated with that so much because I was somebody who's always of the mindset I could just figure it out by myself, right? I was like, yeah, I could just figure this out by myself. And I think so many trainers are plagued with this very dangerous way of thinking that, hey, I'll just figure this out by myself. And I think part of it was just pure stubbornness and thinking I knew it all, or thinking because I figured out how to get myself in shape, how to get ripped, how to win competitions, and how to get myself to this physical level that I could just do the same thing in business. But I was so wrong. And it was a really painful lesson to learn. And I certainly learned it the hardest way you can learn it, by losing the most valuable thing, which is your time. And what this stubbornness led me to doing was just being a lurker online. I was just looking at what other people were doing, posting, and thinking, well, maybe I could just copy that. And so I would try and copy things, and forgetting that there's this whole layer of just different things that they do behind the scenes that you don't see. Kind of like this iceberg here behind me, where you can see the peak of the iceberg is the success that people have, and everything below it is everything that goes into their business, that goes into getting them to where they are. And so I was just copying what I could see at the top, forgetting there's this whole other part to their success. And what this led to was just extreme levels of frustration, spending literally days, hours, years creating things that constantly failed, like constantly failure after failure. Like the time I spent around 6 months building a membership site for men. It was a web application. I put so many hours into creating the content, the nutrition plans, the training plans, the support system, everything. I was back and forth with these developers for months. Every day I had emails to them and I had to give them updates. And it was a very exhausting time in my life. And this was about 5 years ago now. And I launched it after 6 months of building it, of perfecting it and obsessing over silly things like logos and the branding, and, maybe story for another time. And then I launched it, and I had just a small handful of signups and a big fat bill. Before that failure, I'd tried blogging. Years before that, tried making websites, selling ebooks, all in the hope that I could crack how to make money online with fitness to have more freedom. But every time was just a failure after failure, because I was just playing the guess game. I was just thinking, well, maybe I could just spend more time and I'll eventually figure it out. And this is a really dangerous way of thinking, right? And if you have these thoughts right now, where if you just keep doing it, if you just keep trying and copying things, it's going to come to you eventually. Well, look, you can play that game. And that game cost me 5 years of my life, trying and failing, because I was stuck thinking that I could just figure it out by myself. That, hey, I could figure out how to lose weight, so I could just figure out how to make this work in business. But again, this was a very hard lesson that I learned. And while I learned some valuable lessons in that journey of failing with these different attempts to start a business, I obviously learned lots of things that can help me to be where I am now and help students that I coach, trainers who are growing their business. But the fastest growth I saw in my business was when I finally reached out for help, when I dropped the ego and seek the guidance from mentors and invested in my self-education. You see, I mentioned this the other day, how I had this very bad relationship with money. I had this scarcity mentality. And so I would hold on to money out of fear that it would come and it would go and I would never get it back. And so I would always be scared of investing in myself. And so that was me trying and failing by my own means. And then ever since I made that first investment into myself, I got that first mentor, I went through that first program, the growth I've seen in just the past 3 years alone dwarfs the past decade of my life. And I'm not bragging or anything, but I've literally made like 5 times the amount of money I've made and finally have a clear path to freedom, running my life on my terms. And I couldn't have done that if I just kept doing what I was doing, trying my own things, trying to figure it out alone. And so, if I could go back 7, 8 years ago now, and when I was trying to convince myself that I could just figure out alone, if I could go back to that version of Lee, who was like so sure of himself and thought he had all the answers, I'd probably put every single penny that I have to my name into my self-development, invested in myself, into my education. If I knew it would get me even just a fraction of what I have now, I truly would have done that. And I'm sharing this today just as a word of advice. Like, if you've been trying to move your business forward, trying to move your life forward just by observing what other people are doing and you're trying to copy and you're constantly failing and time is passing you by, well, and you're just like, where are the years going? Where's time going? I didn't even realize I've been spending this much time doing this thing. Maybe you've been there. I just want to share this with you today to maybe just remember this. Time is something that you will never get back. Each hour, each day that passes, it's gone and it won't come back. You see, money comes and goes, but time is the one thing that doesn't replenish. And so you must value this more than anything else in your life, because material things and money, it's going to come, it's going to go. That's just the way life is. And so maybe if you're a trainer who's let themselves be held back by their ego, just like I was, just like this fellow trainer was, from trying to figure it out by themselves. And you're capable of so much more. If there's something in you that knows that there is so much more that you can do, but you're just not able to do it yet because you've not got the right pathway to follow, just drop me a message. Just drop me a message on Facebook or Instagram if you'd like some advice, because I know hearing it from somebody else who's been there, it can help a lot. So I hope this message today just encourages you, if you've been holding yourself back through the ego that you've maybe had towards doing the things that you're doing, and drop a comment below. And I know this is probably going to be quite a hard thing to comment on, because it's like admitting something that we don't like to admit, especially if you have the ego. Ironically, you don't want to admit that you have an ego, but hey, put yourself out there and comment below this video and let me know if this is something that you've struggled with, because I'd like to hear from you. And if I can help you in any way or just give you some advice, I'll certainly do just that. And hey, why not share this out as well? Right? Maybe there's some people in your network who do have a hard time moving forward in life, but maybe they don't realize it's because they're holding themselves back because of the ego side of them that feels like they don't need help. And men, we have this problem where we feel like we can just figure this out. We can just, push through it and use brute force to figure things out. But the truth is, we all need a bit of help. And I would not be where I am today doing what I'm doing had I not had the help and support from mentors, coaches, and people around me who have shown me the right pathway, who have taken that motivation, that drive that I've had, and said, hey, Lee, let's bring you on the right pathway. Because if you keep going in that direction, you're just going to get miserable and you're going to give up. And I was so close to giving up so many times. I was so close to saying, like, screw this, right? This isn't for me. Maybe I'm just not cut out for it. But when I had the pathway, when I was put on the right tracks, my life completely changed. And so, I hope this helps you today, because it's certainly something that I've had to really address within myself. And it certainly helped me get to where I am. Just want to address Martin there in the comments. I'm actually going to bring your comment up for the first time. So Martin is just, put himself out there and said, I struggle to ask for help because I think it will be seen as a sign of stupidity. I can completely relate to you there, Martin. I can completely relate to you. And we all have these weird thoughts. And, I want to just commend you there for sharing that, because it's a really hard thing to acknowledge and admit. But hey, we all have that feeling of judgment at times. And if we reach out for help and we feel like someone might judge us, right, then it's going to make us feel like we're not worthy enough, which is really what this comes back to, our sense of worthiness and our feeling of lack that we can get if we feel like we need to ask for help. But hey, we all need a helping hand in this life, right? No great thing was ever built by one person, right? If you look at the world that we're in now, this industrial revolution, the airplanes, the trains, the transport system, the internet, nothing was built just by one person. It was all a collection of people working together. Just like there are these amazing sports teams. I'm watching the Formula One series on Netflix right now, and maybe this is a story for another time, but you see these teams of people, hundreds of people working together to put this car on these tracks for one person to drive it to the finish line. And we look and we think it's just the driver who wins the race. No, it's an entire team. They can't just get in any old car and win these races or do what they do. They need a team around them. We need teams around us. We need people around us that are going to encourage us, that's going to show us the right way, it's going to give us the support. And so, hey, if you feel stupid, so be it, right? And if you don't ask, you will never learn. And if you drop that ego, wow, there's so much on the other side of your life. And I just want to encourage you to let go of the ego, let go of whatever you've been holding on to, because what you're going to see is just so much more growth and happiness and success. So I hope this message today encourages you. Share it out. See you in the comments, and I'll see you on the next Daily Live.